Satnam aloha, everyone. So, can you smell the newness? Can you feel the newness like nipping at your heels right now? Because the sun is going to be in the 41st gate on January 21st. So, not too long after the new moon in the 60.3. And if you know your Mandela, right? The what comes after the 60 is the 41, which I'm going to talk about 5 things that you can do um, at the end of the video. So be sure to stay until the end. And of course, I like to timestamp too, so people can see if they want to zip to certain content. Okay, so look at the 60 party. There's a 60 party. So there's the 60 on the root chakra. And maybe you have this natally. Be sure to put that in the comments so we can see who has what. So the sun is there, the moon is there, Mercury's in the 60, Venus is in the 60, Mars is in the 60. It's a 60 party. So what does this mean? And we're moving, and all of these planets will be moving into Pluto and Aquarius. So, right, they got initiated with the sun, with the Kazemi, right? And then they're all together for the new moon, and then they're going to be going, each one of them going to Pluto. So, huge transformation ahead, huge transformation for this year. And the themes will be shifting. Okay. So, what gate 60 is about? It's the gate of acceptance, and it's the shadow of limitation. And it's part of the channel of mutation. It's the 60-30, and you may have that defined yourself. So, this isn't about restriction. Because people hear the word limitation and they immediately think, I'm being punished, right? No, it's not restriction. It's not you can't. It's not about you can't do this or you can't do that. It says only what's real can continue on your path, right? Because we're entering a whole new cycle this year. And then a whole brand new 400-year cycle for 2027. So 2026 is really preparing us for this. So the 60 is saying, no, you can't bring this with you. It's not real, right? It's not going to endure for you. So the 60, the gate 60 is the moment where fantasy hits reality. You get to see very clearly what's been a fantasy and what's been a reality. And you can't bring fantasy into this new cycle with you. Where desire, where you want something to happen, but it's not happening. It's not authentic to you and your soul's journey. And dreams meet timelines. So doesn't stay up in the ethers or in your head, right? It meets a timeline. So it's Capricorn. This is the Capricorn energy, the 60. So, and it's in the third line. If we just look at the moon, right? The new moon, it's in the third line. And the third line is very material. It's very connected to the material, and it's trial and error. It's about trial and error. And it's mutative. Like I said, it's very, very mutative. So this tests you in your body. It tests you in your body, the 60th gate. So you want to trust your body. And it's interesting, I put that meme up of the pyramid, right? The pyramid's changing. You know, when it went from high school diploma up to PhD. Well, the tippy top of the pyramid now is flipped. And it's interesting, the food pyramid flipped too. I thought about that later. So the tippy top of the pyramid now are the people who listen to their body and listen to their intuition, right? to make their decisions, not their mind, right? You're actually disabled in a sense if you're completely leaning on your intellect now with the cross of the sleeping phoenix, because all the energies are changing. So you want to trust your body. Your body's not going to lie to you. So this new moon is not about, like, set your intentions, right? Because the paradox is, yes, it's a new moon, but it's also in the middle of all this ending energy, right? Completion energy. So it's not about set intentions. It's about, what can I actually live? What's alive for me right now? Right? This is what the 60th gate is asking, through trial and error. So you try, you feel, you adjust, you fail, you learn, you stabilize. All third line profiles know this, right? They live, and sixth lines know this too, especially their first 30 years, about trial and error. So this aligns with embodiment, routine, form consciousness, in the Saturn Neptune preparation, and that happens February 26th, right? Neptune goes into Aries, the 26th, February 20th. February 20th is when Saturn and Neptune come into 0 degrees Aries. So it's preparing us for this. Okay, so let's go to the ruler. I don't want to make this too complex or long. So the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. Saturn. So let's get Saturn. You can see that, okay? So who is Saturn? If we were a person, this would be Saturn, right? The ruler of time, Chronos. So Saturn is quiet, observant, says very little. Saturnian type people. They dress simply, right? He's been wearing the same coat for 20 years, but he's solid. Saturn is solid. He doesn't rush, and time moves around him. And he has the receipts, right? He has the receipts, but he doesn't start showing them until you start lying to yourself, and then the receipts come out, right? So he's karma. The lord of karma is Saturn, when this is the ruler of this new moon. So he's not mean. He's not cruel. He's just done entertaining nonsense. No more nonsense. No pie in the sky stuff. No fantasy and desire. It's like, what's real? That's what Saturn cares about, is what's real. So Saturn's not going to give you a bunch of motivational quotes or affirmations. He's not going to do that. He's not going to say light and love. Saturn will not say light and love and let's just all ride on our unicorns and throw fairy dust and we're all going to ascend. Right? Saturn says, show me. Show me the money, basically. Show me that you walk the talk. Show me that you're authentic. Show me, does this work? Does this relationship work? Does this job opportunity work? Right? So does it work? Can you do that? Can you do it when no one's watching? Right? Or are you doing it to feed your ego? Right? Will you do this even if you don't get paid? Saturn will take away the money. Right? We'll take away the money and say, okay, let's see if she'll do this, if she'll continue do this, if she's not receiving any money. She's not receiving applause. Saturn will take the applause away. Saturn will take away the mirror, so you don't have that validation mirrored back to you. Saturn wants to know. Saturn wants to test you. Right? And can you keep doing this tomorrow? Are you victim to your moods? Well, I'm not in the mood to show up and do this tomorrow. I'm on a whim now. I saw a little shiny thing over there in the corner, so I'm going to follow this shiny thing. Saturn's watching, right? Saturn watches you. And then he's like, okay, you did it for a week, but now can you do it for 5 years? Can you do it for 5 years? Time. Saturn wants you to build something, right? This is the time of building, not just fantasizing, right? So if you get defensive, right? If you get defensive, Saturn will just wait. Saturn just waits and waits and waits if you get defensive. If you cry, Saturn will offer you tissue, right? He keeps the standard. If you whine and complain, Saturn will say life is tough, wear a helmet. Saturn, right? Saturn creates limits and restrictions. There's no creativity without Saturn, right? I always think of Saturn as the father, because the Saturn can represent the father in your chart too. As you know, if a little toddler is running out in traffic, right? The Saturn does, oh, please, Johnny, come back. Come back here, Johnny. No, Saturn father runs and yanks Johnny's arm and gets him back, and maybe Johnny's crying, but he's safe, right? So that's Saturn. He's the gentle brick wall. So Saturnian lessons can be pretty brutal, right? If you're, if you're in your you went through your first Saturn return or your second Saturn return, it's about getting you on your path, right? It's about you maturing. It's about time. So it's a time of maturation. So Saturn is calling that for all of us. It's time for us to grow up. And that means to come into spiritual adulthood. And maybe you're 70 years old and you haven't reached spiritual adulthood yet. Saturn is going to come in now and say, it's time for you to mature now, right? So what Saturn rewards, he doesn't reward talent, right? That you're gifted and you're talented at something, right? Saturn rewards consistency and discipline. What do you do with that talent, right? Saturn doesn't reward passion, that you're passionate about something. He doesn't reward intensity. He rewards consistency and sobriety and follow through and humility. Things that don't collapse because you get bored or distracted. The programming partner of the 60 is the 56. That's the shadow of distraction by the shiny thing or the next workshop or the next YouTube video or everything that you're consuming and not digesting, right? Saturn doesn't reward that kind of distraction and boredom. And it's really interesting. We're really not good with boredom anymore. I mean, I was a child. I was the generation before technology really set in, which you were bored, right? We had radios and stuff and then the Walkmans, but we didn't have computers and phones and things like that. So we were bored. But you know what? We weren't bored because it fueled your imagination. Maybe you can relate to that as a child, right? You had to become imaginative, right? Create your own entertainment. So you also don't want to impress Saturn by trying harder at something that's not working, that's banging your head against the wall. Saturn's not going to reward that. You're clinging to that relationship out of safety and security because you don't want to grow. You're digging in your heels. Saturn's not going to reward that. I'm working so hard at this relationship. That's not for me, right? Saturn's not going to reward things like that. You impress Saturn by building something, right? By building something that doesn't fall apart. That's not going to collapse when the winds come. When the winds come, it's not going to collapse. It's not built on shifting sands. It has a strong foundation. That's what Saturn cares about right now. So Saturn is the adult in the room that we all eventually have to grow into. And that's the spiritual adult. And we're really missing that spiritual adult here on the planet. right? There's a lot of children and teenagers in adult bodies, but no spiritual adults. And this is after, right? Humility, right? It's humility. So Saturn brings that humility to the ego, right? The not self. So let's see. So what's Saturn's message? What's Saturn's message right now? Is what's he saying, right? What's Saturn saying for this new moon? Well, you want to stop forcing what isn't viable. You want to stop forcing what's not working anymore. And not every failing, right? Because this is where we can get into. Remember, this is trial and error. It's the third line. That every failing, like, oh, I failed at that. It's not your shadow or your mistake or an opportunity to beat yourself up. It's like, what did I discover? This is not working anymore. Be honest with yourself. Saturn wants you to be honest with yourself. And he's going to make it harder and harder and harder for you to cling on to these things that you can't take into this next chapter. And if Saturn is creating a lot of ruckus in your life, right? Like obstacles left and right, taking things away from you, you have to see this as a blessing of your soul. A blessing of your soul. I was with some friends the other night for dinner, and they were talking. There's a lot of wealthy people right where I live on this island, like super wealthy. And they were saying that they knew these friends of friends, and the husband just gave the wife, like, oh, here's $1 million for your birthday. Right? Here's $1 million for your birthday. Do whatever you want with this. And immediately I thought, like, not jealousy or envy didn't come up, but immediately my immediate thought was like, oh, that would be so difficult to have that kind of life. Now I'm assuming that their life is pretty easy, right? To be able to just give your partner, oh, here's $1 million. Like, you know, like you're giving them $100. Here's $1 million. You can do whatever you want with it, to have that kind of, you know, pocket change or whatever. That in terms of your spiritual journey, that would be such a temptation, wouldn't it? Right? To have like an easy life like that. Not a lot of Saturn lessons coming in. Right? And the Saturn lessons come in to wake you up. It's to wake you up. Right? And he thought, anyway, later in hindsight, I was really, oh, it's interesting that that's the first thing I thought of. Right? Like, oh, I'm blessed not to have that. Right? Yeah. Anyway, that's showing my maturation from my Saturnian lessons. Okay. So, right. So not every failing is a shadow, and not every stalling is resistance. And some things are just wrong sized for your life. You're trying to fit into those those smaller clothes that you used to fit into when you were younger, right? And they're not working anymore. You got to upgrade now. Saturn is saying it's time to upgrade. So the gate 60.3 says effort. When you make a lot of effort, it's not correct, right? This is the old cross of planning way. Well, I'm in this marriage and I'm here until death do you part, and I should try and I should do this and I should do that, and it means that I love that other person because I'm putting so much effort in. Does it mean it's correct? No. Saturn is saying no, not in the 60th gate, line 3. Discipline? Well, I'm really disciplined at this. No. Is it an alignment? When you're disciplined at something, are you aligned with what you're disciplined with? Right? So you want to ask yourself questions like that. Right? Am I caught in this rut? Am I caught in a rut that needs to change and shift? Right? Just because you're disciplined and you've been in a rut for 20 years doesn't mean that it's correct and that you're in alignment. Suffering. Right? Saturn says suffering isn't proof that you're on the right path. or you're in the right place, in the right environment. It's like, oh, I suffer, so that means it's proof that I'm on the right path. We're letting go of this old paradigm of we have to suffer as spiritual people, right? We're letting that go. So if you're exhausted and getting nowhere, Saturn's not impressed. Saturn is not impressed if you're just spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere, exhausted. He's actually waving the red flag and saying, no, you don't need any more grit in this area. So you want to really look at your limitations this week, especially this week, because we're closing up this wheel. So your body is your feedback. You want to listen to your body. Listen to your body. Your body is your teacher this year. So line 3 is bodily intelligence. It's material. Line 3 is material. It's not about mental. It's not about the mind. And Saturn says, if your body closes, listen, right? Take a pause. My body's closing in this group of people. My body's closing in my relationship. My body's closing in this job with these clients. You want to pause. That's Saturn 60.3 giving you a cue, right? Like listen to your body. Your body's telling you something, communicating to you that this is not right for you. It's not correct for you. You don't be dragging it into 2026. It's going to get worse, right? Saturn is like the heads up. Here, you can make these changes now. Do it the easy way, light as a feather method, not the 2x4 method. 2x4 method will come this year if you don't listen. Okay, if your nervous system is fried, then you need to adjust. What's your nervous system doing, right? In the environments, relationships. You want to monitor that, your nervous system. If repetition, whatever you're doing on repeat, drains you instead of stabilizes you, then it's misaligned. So pain, right? Pain that strengthens is different than pain that erodes. Pain is like the pain that erodes is like you're drained by the your environment, you're drained by the community that you're in, or is the pain strengthening you? Is this pain strengthening me? Is it building my character? This is what Saturn cares about, is character. You know, I was meditating on this this week about charts, right? Because I've done a lot of readings for people now, and then readings for people that I know personally, you know, just looking at their chart. And it's really amazing. You can see these amazing charts, right? They've got their astrology, their human design. It's like, wow, they've been given so many gifts by the divine. You know, it's like they've got intuition, and they have psychic gifts, and right, and they can go to the depths of shadow. They can go to the heights of joy and happiness, right? And then you look at their character, and their character is how they express their chart in their essence. And it's the complete opposite of their chart, right? Somebody who has all water, right? All water and earth. And what's she doing? She's trapped in her intellect, right? She's got not an air sign in her chart. That's the power of the not self. That's the power of the ego. I need to be this way so that I can fit in, right, with others. And it's so sad. It's so sad to me that they can't transcend their ego and love themselves, because that's where it's coming from. They don't love themselves, right? They want to be someone that they're not. So this is what Saturn teaches you, is character, because the character comes out of trials and error in your life. It's that old saying, you never know how strong tea is until you put it in hot water. That's the character. So you want to embrace these challenges in your life. It's building your character. So something must die so something real can emerge, right? So what's real can live. Remember, life supports life now. Life's not going to support things that are dying anymore. We used to be able to do that, pretend, wear masks. It's like, no, something has to die now so that something real can live. So this is this lunation cycle, right, of this new moon cycle. It's not about adding things, it's about subtracting things. So Saturn is clear. Outdated roles have to go. Timelines that you built on fantasy, destination consciousness, when this happens and this happens and I'll be happy, they have to go. Identities that are propped up by ego and not self, they have to go, right? So this, gate 60 doesn't evolve through expansion. It's limitation and restriction, right? It involves constraint, right? And less is correct, right? Less is correct during this lunation cycle. So consistency beats intensity every single time. Consistency beats intensity. So this is my fractal, the people that are aligned with me, they like the sound of my voice. Their body opens up when they hear me. They resonate with the message. Something happens inside, the spark. That's how you know you're on my fractal. We're done with this. We're done with this intensity. It's really interesting, too, to watch, Netflix or something in a romantic drama. They always work this intensity. And it's not love. It's not true love. Love is boring. It's not this, right? This is a hit. It's like being emotionally drunk. And then when the drunkenness wears off, which what it will do, on to the next. That's the distraction. I'm chasing this intensity. I think this is what love is, and it's not, right? Saturn wants to teach you that. It's about consistency. Who's showing up? Who's showing up every day? So you're done frying your nervous system. Intensity fries the nervous system. It drains you, right? Looking for meaning. So this is Saturn is saying embrace the boring and consistency, right? But it's boring. It's boring, right? When you embrace consistency. Over emotional spikes. Emotional spikes isn't real. Saturn wants to show you that. Repetition, right? Embracing repetition. Sustainability rather than peak experiences. And if it can't survive boredom, right? Whatever this is, if it can't survive boredom, it's certainly not going to survive Pluto. When all those planets move in conjunct with Pluto and Aquarius, right? So he's saying to really embrace this boredom. And this is the present now moment, right? It's said in Kundalini Yoga, there's a thing called space fever. We'd have space fever. What's space fever mean? It means not being restless in whatever place you are in your life, even the time and space that you're in right now. You don't want to be there. You want to be somewhere else. And that phone ensures that you can be somewhere else. And such a temptation because we're all carrying our phones now. Right? Space fever. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. Because why? Because it's bored. It's boredom. I'm bored. Right? So Saturn says it's time to embrace boredom. It's that carry water, chop wood. Before enlightenment, carry water, chop wood. After enlightenment, carry water, chop wood. We have to. So this is getting good with this, right? With carry water, chop wood. So choose your limits, or reality will choose for you. Choose your limits, or reality will choose them for you. So this is a warning and a gift from Saturn. And Pluto and Aquarius is coming in hot. It's coming in hot when they all meet Pluto. So artificial systems aren't going to survive. Group illusions won't survive. If you're in a group and it's all airy-fairy, it's not going to survive. Saturn is offering you mercy, a mercy window right now. So pick your constraints consciously. Pick your constraints consciously, or they'll be imposed later and harder, Saturn will say. I have South Node in Capricorn. That's why I can talk about this stuff. I have many past lives, me and Saturn. Okay. So that Saturn isn't saying you got to manifest, you got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to heal harder, you got to become better versions of your not self, right? He's saying, what can you actually live daily, quietly, without applause? What can you actually live daily, quietly, without applause? I know with my Saturn experience last year I think I talked about this on one of my YouTubes. I was so frustrated at one point because I call it the tap, right? The tap of water, that's the flow of money and energy, was not coming in. And it was like an 8th house thing. And Neptune's been doing crazy crap in my 8th house too. But Saturn was in there, right? In Pisces, it's still in there. And the tap just went off. And I know when the tap just goes completely off that, I'm in a spiritual lesson right now. And so I do my weekly videos, right? I do my weekly videos. And I remember I was preparing to do my video. And I could feel my ego. It's like, why are you doing this? People don't want to listen to you. They don't appreciate you. If you added up all the hours you spent this week on the work that you were doing, I think you probably made 25 cents an hour. Like, right? You're not getting any return on this. And my soul is so strong. And I'm not saying that from an egoic place. It's so strong, my soul, that I can't get away with stuff like that. Like, I feel like the divine would grab me by the scruff and put me in front of the computer. Not that I'm kicking and screaming doing that. It's like, no, of course I want to do my video. That's not going to stop me from serving. Certainly not going to stop me from serving my fractal, right? And that was my Saturnian lesson during that time. It's like, will you still do this even if you're getting 25 cents an hour? Right? Will you still do what you're doing? Will you still do it if you're not getting a thank you? Not a thank you from a person, nothing, no feedback. That was all happening that month, right? It just tested me, and Saturn was testing me. And then the water started flowing again. Because of my ego? No, right? Because of this is the test, and this is how Saturn tests us. Right? Takes away things and watches you. Okay, let's see how serious he is about it. But it was like an initiation. I felt like I was in some kind of initiation process. So maybe that will help you, and maybe share with others down in the comments if you've had a similar experience to me with Saturn. Right? But it's just so off and on. I know that it's a test, right? It's a test. Okay. So this is going to repel people. The great thing is the sorting of the wheat and the chaff, right? The chaff and the wheat and the chaff. Is that how it goes? Something like that. Sorting. It's like sorting people. So Saturn here in the 60, this new moon will repel people. It's going to repel the fantasy people. It's going to repel the people that don't want to do the work, right? They want to be in the castle. They don't want to be swimming through the moat. They just want to be in the castle. They want to be in the field of all the fruits that you harvest from your spiritual path, but they don't want to do the work to get there. And they're not going to be able to do that, right? Saturn is like, no, you got to do the work. You have to do it on your own, and you have to do it for yourself, right? Okay. Okay. So there's Saturn. So let's talk about his Saturn's having a meeting here. He's having a meeting with Mercury and Venus and Mars because they're all in the 60. So what are they saying here? Saturn, Venus, and Mars, right? And he's the top dog in this group. So Mercury in the 60, right? So this is the test. So Saturn is laying down the law with the 60. And then Mercury and Venus and Mars are going to show you where you're tested in your life, right? So Mercury here is how you think, right? How you think, how you communicate. And it's not about brainstorming how to get out of these limitations, right? He's about cutting excuses. So Mercury here says you already know. Stop lying to yourself. You already know what isn't working. You already know. Stop reframing your failure as, oh, this is part of the journey. It's just part of the journey. I'm just going to keep, right? So Mercury is going to show you where your thoughts are, right? Clarity comes from subtraction, right? Clarity will come when you start letting things go, right? Not from more thinking, right? And getting yourself in an anxiety state. You're not going to figure this out with your mind, Mercury says. The clarity will come to you when you start letting things go. So this is a stop lying to yourself cycle. It's time to stop lying to yourself. And if your mind keeps spinning stories to justify something that your body has already rejected, your body has rejected this already, whatever it is, and stop using your mind trying to justify it, trying to talk yourself out of your feelings, trying to dominate your body. Your body's already put the vote in, right? You want to listen to your body. So Mercury in the 60 will call the BS. We'll call you on your BS here. So you want to say it plainly and name it cleanly and then act accordingly, right? So this is a great time to do some journaling with Mercury activated in the 60 here. And then Venus, this is your relationships and your values. So it's going to expose Venus in the 60. She'll expose relationships that are built on this intensity of the up and down, the breadcrumbing, right? The breadcrumbing, that means like he's on, no, he's off. He ignores me. Oh, he pays attention to me. Like you're on this emotional roller coaster. Venus will show you that you're emotionally drunk. You know, you're drunk on your emotions. And then you got the hangover of your emotions, right? The highs and the lows, the dopamine hits. That's not love. That's dope. You're addicted to the dopamine hits. You're addicted to the trauma because this is what you're used to from your childhood. Longing. You're in this state of longing over presence. Longing is wanting and wishing something would happen in the future. And this is, you want to be present. So Venus will show you where you're not present. Potential, seeing the potential in someone and not what's real. And this is a big one. So Venus will show you that in your relationships. Like he's a project. She's a project for you. Not looking at what they're showing you. Like back to my charts. Like looking at someone's chart and assuming that, oh, they're going to express this. No. That's character. So Venus will say, don't look at their potential. Yes, this is their potential, but they're too lazy, right? Or too afraid to walk into their authenticity, right? So don't look at their potential. Look at what's real. What are they showing you right now? And you don't want to look away. People show you who they are. They show you who they are. So no more excuses, right? And Mercury's not going to let you make excuses anyway. So limitation. So gate 60 is limitation reveals what actually matters. What actually matters. Your values. What are your values, and are they aligned with this in your relationships? So choosing one thing is not losing everything. Venus wants you to choose one thing. Choose one thing. Don't get into this 56 distraction. It's distracted by all the shiny things around you. You're not going to get anywhere. You want to set the limits for yourself, right? Okay, I'm choosing this. It's not realistic for me to try to do 5 different things, and that's the ego that's keeping you from the present now moment and Saturn's lesson. What can be built, right? And you don't lose everything. The ego will say, well, I'll lose that if I choose. But you're not going to get anywhere by avoiding choosing. We all have to choose, right? And we all lose when we choose. We all lose when we choose one thing, right? If you choose to get married, go into relationship and partner, then you lose your identity as a single person. You lose some of your solitude, right? We all, in order to choose, you have to lose. You have to grieve something, right? That's just part of life. And Saturn is saying, get used to that, right? So commitment isn't confinement. Venus wants you to know that. Committing to something doesn't mean you're in a cage, right? Commitment means you're committed to yourself, right? Really, you're committed to yourself. You want to be committed to yourself first, your higher self. What else did I want to say about commitment? And it's really committing to the present now moment, committing to the present now moment in each and every moment, right? So depth, if you want depth, committed to depth. Venus in the 60 wants depth, wants real intimacy in your relationship. And if you have 55 friends, that's impossible, right? You're spreading yourself way too thin, and you can't have any depth. You're like superficial 20th gate, right? 20th gate shadow, just flitting from one thing to the next. And it's a way to hide. It's a way to hide yourself too when you got 55 friends. So Venus is like, limit that. Who are the ones that are aligned with your value? It's better to have a few friends, few really good friends than 55 friends. And then money, because this is Venus also rules money. So money will leak when your values are unclear. When your values are unclear, your money will start leaking. You'll start compromising. And this is where spending can compensate for emotional lack, where abundance mindset is avoiding the structural honesty, like looking at your finances in a sober way with Saturn, like looking at your inflow and outflow, not the abundance, right? Just totally the abundance and the fantasy. Well, I'll just manifest everything I need without a structure, right? And a good thing that I do is money day. I have a money day bi-weekly. I used to do it weekly, but I do it bi-weekly now. And it's just measuring your inflow and your outflow, just to be present with that, right? That's what Saturn wants. Two, how you can mature. Building a structure. So this time is really about letting things go and then building the structure, having the structures in place, right? That's Capricorn. Venus in the 60 says really to stop investing what can't mature. What are you investing in? And is it maturing? And being honest with yourself. Can this mature? Can this relationship mature? Can this business mature? Right? Can this whatever? Can it mature? And Venus says, stop investing into the things that can't mature. Stop investing in the people that are not showing up for you. They're not aligned with you. Venus in the 60 reveals that you've been valuing glamour over sustainability. Glamour, you've been into this, right? The ego loves this. The glamour. What you've been conditioned, what success is, what prosperity is, instead of looking at the long game. Is this sustainable? So she says to choose what it can actually grow. So this can be uncomfortable, Venus here. Venus wants pleasure. She wants pleasure. And 60 wants truth, right? The 60 wants truth. So Mars there, Mars in the 60, this is about action with restraint, right? So there's Mars. Mars wants to act, right? Shoot and ask questions later. Instinctive, right? I want more. This is your desire nature. But gate 60's got him on a leash, right? It's got your Mars on a leash. So Mars here is saying not all effort is correct effort, which we talked about before, right? Not all effort is correct effort. If you're efforting, if you're valuing a relationship that's not maturing and not going anywhere, then Saturn puts up the wall, puts up the resistance. So Mars is saying, no, don't put your effort into what's incorrect for you. You're wasting your energy. More force, more effort's not going to correct a bad structure, right? So whatever that structure is it your relationship? It's not going to fix that, right? More force isn't going to fix that. So burnout is a signal with Mars in the 60. If you're getting burned out on something or someone, that's a signal that it's the wrong. You're putting your effort and your energy to the wrong thing, right? It doesn't mean like, oh, burnout means I'm really, really loyal. That's cross the planning stuff, right? So again, your body, your energy level is going to show you this new moon. So this is going to stop the hustle. I call it the looky-loos, right? The spiritual shoppers. They just shop from one reading to the next. They shop from one workshop to the next, one healing to the next, right? This placement, Mars in the 60 is going to go, no, you're not going to have the energy for that. That's not going to happen anymore. Addicted to distractions, the next shiny things, right? No. Proving yourself through exhausting yourself. No. Earning love by being useful to others, to your groups of people, your false fractals. That's not going to work anymore with Mars in the 60. And basically, if it costs you your nervous system, right? You get your nervous system gets fried, then it's overpriced. Whatever it is, it's overpriced, and you can't afford it. Not now. You have to take care of your body, your nervous system. And that's part of my mission this year, is for you to help you build your own anchor. Because lots and lots of change is coming. Chaos is coming. Not to scare you, but you have to be strong in your anchor. And that means you're strong in yourself. So you're not being pulled here and there when chaos is around you. You stay in your center. Does it mean that chaos goes away? No. It means that you stay in your center and you don't get pulled into it, right? You don't get pulled into not self. You don't get pulled into the hive mind. You're able to maintain your authenticity. Stay in your center. Stay in your center. Anchor yourself. Okay, so the audit team, right? Saturn's audit team for this new moon. We got Mercury says, is this true? Is this true? Venus asks, is this worth it in the long term? You're looking long term. You're not looking a day, 2 days, a week, a month, a year. You're looking the long term. And Mars asks, can you do this without betraying yourself, without abandoning yourself? Can you still do this? If you have to exhaust yourself, if you have to become a not-self, then no. Mars is saying no. And Saturn's going to decide, does it stay or does it go? Choice point. Does it stay or does it go? Does this habit stay or does this habit go? Does this person stay or does this person go? Does this false fractal stay or this false fractal go? This job go or stay? This place of living stay or go? Right? And Saturn will decide. So nothing passes unless it clears all of these four here. And that's why the new moon is not inspirational. It's not inspirational. It's sobering. This is sober time now. Okay. So, where do we want to go next? What do I have? Okay. My slides are keeping me in order here. Okay. It's 51 minutes and 22 seconds. I don't think I could do a 10-minute video if I wanted to. It takes a while to unfold and unravel and communicate. I'm never good at communicating in sound bites, that's distraction, the 56. I'm just gonna machine gun you with all these sound bites that sound good. No, you gotta embody this. You have to embody this knowledge now. Okay, so this is the difference I wanted to talk about with the 60th. Uniqueness is a big word for me because my sun is in the 8. And I have the 3955. Right? So I provoke. And the thing with spirituality now, I don't like to put things in hierarchy, but I don't know if there's any way around this, that there's different levels to spirituality, right? And so there can be learning about yourself, learning about your not self. How can I be a better not self, right? How can I make my life comfortable? How can I build an identity around my spirituality? With crystals and learning about my chakras and all this stuff, right? It's kind of a beginner level spirituality, right? What we need to do, we need to go up the levels. And spirituality, true spirituality is really about dissolving the ego, right? And it's not just one ego, it's egos, right? This is the not self. This is what's causing suffering. This is what's causing the blocks, the scarcity, the poverty, the emotional, right, angst, the anger, all that stuff comes from this ego, right? And this is the not self. And this has to dissolve. So part of my work is transformational. There's no transformation unless you dissolve the ego. And the thing with the beginner level, and especially this new age, right? You'll hear this. Well, we need our egos. We need a healthy ego, and blah blah blah. That's just trying to dilute the ego with another ego, right? Egos have to go. They have to dissolve, and that ego, that's what incarnates over and over and over and over and over and again, right? That ego, that primary ego, right? And there's many, many egos that we have. They have to dissolve. And that's where true transformation happens, because that ego is blocking your consciousness. It's blocking your consciousness. And that's why it feels so good when you do have an ego death, when you do have your ego dissolving little, but maybe not all at once, but dissolving more and more and more and more, it's releasing your consciousness, right? So me with the 3955 and then the 8, I wanted to talk about this. So I provoke people's egos. I notice that their ego and their shadow. And some people like it and some people don't. Now, if you're mature and you're coming more into your spiritual adulthood, you're going to love this confrontation, because it's like, thank God Michael showed me where my ego is, my not self, right? Instead of letting that ego come out and try fighting with me, right? Getting defensive and fighting. And that's you, like, identifying with this not self, and it's not you. It's inauthentic. So this is one of the things that happens during my retreats, right? And maybe even watching my videos, your ego gets triggered, right? So it's just to take note of it. Like, oh, I had a huge reaction to something that he said. What is that? Ask yourself, like, what is that? And this is why we need to meditate, because we develop a relationship between the real you, your uniqueness, and your mind and your ego, so that you're able to see it and like, oh, that's not me. I don't have to react from that place anymore, right? So this is something I wanted to talk about with specialness, because people can get confused. And this is the ego. I'm special. And then this is just you, your natural self, your uniqueness, your expression of the divine. Uniqueness doesn't come with a script. It doesn't come with a costume, right? Doesn't come with an identity. It's just who you are. You don't think about it. It's just you. Specialness comes with a script. So these two are not the same thing, right? But the ego can try to hijack this. And, well, I'm unique, right? I'm unique. The ego will try to say that. No, the ego is really saying I'm special. And as soon as you say I'm special, you're in a hierarchy. Uniqueness is like we're all unique. You're not in a hierarchy when you're in uniqueness. You're in a hierarchy when you're in specialness. So specialness needs an audience. And it's maintained by novelty, stimulation, being seen as different, seen as talented, seen as I'm chosen, I'm gifted, I'm exceptional. And specialness says, pay attention to me. Specialness needs a mirror, needs the applause. I'm special, right? Which means I'm better than someone else. So specialness is pay attention to me. This means something because it feels intense, right? Specialness feels intense. You get the dopamine hits. The ego loves the dopamine hits. If it stops exciting me, it stops being real, right? So I always need that audience. And specialness collapses when things get repetitive, when no one's watching, right? The story runs out, right? Life becomes ordinary. This is why gate 56, if we bring it back to the 5660, the 56 starts to panic when things get still, right? Gets bored. Because stillness exposes whether something is real or it's just entertaining. Specialness is like if you were a social media platform, Instagram. Instagram is like, look how special I am. I'm so in love with my form, right? This is like I'm coming out of hiding. You hear this. I'm embracing my uniqueness and I'm coming out of hiding. And people can feel like this is their uniqueness and it's just their specialness because they're in love with their form. Right? How attractive they are, how beautiful they are. Right? This is the specialness. I need an audience. Applaud me for my talents, look how beautiful I am. And usually with the hiding, there's the inflated ego, which is that, like adore me, worship me, make me feel special. That's the inflated ego. The deflated ego is I want to hide. I don't want anybody to notice me. I don't want anybody to see me. That's ego too, right? So that wants to flip. The deflated ego always wants to be the inflated ego, and they flip, right? So that ego, I don't want anybody to see me. It's the same ego is saying, I want everybody to see me, everybody to worship me, right? That's the specialness. So specialness collapses when there's no audience, right? So uniqueness doesn't require stimulation. Uniqueness doesn't require an audience, right? It's revealed, your uniqueness is revealed through limits and consistency and embodiment and time. And uniqueness says, this is just how I'm designed, this is how I'm built. And this works even when no one cares. Even when no one cares. No one's mirroring me. Right? Specialness needs a mirror. I want that reflected back to me, the ego. Uniqueness doesn't need a mirror. It doesn't need that reflection. It just is. Right? Your uniqueness deepens with repetition. And it becomes clearer under pressure. That's 60th gate. And it survives boredom. And gate 60 doesn't ask you to be impressed, right? It asks you to just to be accurate and correct, aligned with yourself. So specialness needs to feel exciting to exist, and uniqueness exists even when nothing exciting is happening. Uniqueness is still there. This is performative. I'm performing now. I'm playing a role, right? The identity is built on being different, which is hilarious to me. This difference, right? People who think that they're so different and they're wearing black leather and piercings and they got tattoos all over them, and it's like, you look like everyone else like that. You're not different. You're in a group. You're pretending that you're all different, that you're all unique. It's like, no, you're not. You're wearing a costume, right? This is inauthenticity and it's mediocrity, right? That's the specialness. That's the specialness. The most radical people that I've ever met look so, just conservative on the outside, and the most conservative, traditional, closed-minded people are the ones that look so radical, right? So uniqueness comes from your essence. It's not about the costume you wear, the specialness. The specialness, that's the ego trying to overcompensate. That's the ego trying to be unique, right? So ego has nothing to do with uniqueness. So specialness will say, make me feel alive. You make me feel alive. You make me feel special. And uniqueness says, my nervous system settles around you. My nervous system settles around you. Right? And one spikes. This one, specialness, spikes. The dopamine hit. The ego loves that. And this is like, this stabilizes. Uniqueness stabilizes. And then, so Pluto, when Pluto comes in, right, when that auditing team hits Pluto, specialness is going to start to get stripped away, basically, right? Get stripped away and dissolving, right? The specialness will start to dissolve, and then it's like the humbling, right? The fall from grace that I'm not that special. That's the ego, right? But the soul says, no, you're unique. Let the ego go and embrace your uniqueness, right? Okay. But Also, when those planets move to Pluto, your uniqueness stays, because that's the only thing that's real is your uniqueness. Okay. So this new moon's not asking you to shine, it's asking you to simplify. This new moon is asking you to simplify. Yeah. So the ones that are that really mistake specialness for uniqueness, they're about to feel very restless, right? Through this transition. And then the ones that recognize their uniqueness, right? They will become very calm. They'll become very calm. Okay, I wanted to share that with you about the ego, and maybe you can share if this is how this hit with you. Did you feel like your ego coming up around this and getting like, oh, we can all say that. It's like, oh, I tried to be special at one time, right? Or I'm sad because I wasn't recognized as special or whatever. We've all gone through that. It's part of the process of coming into spiritual adulthood, because it's not you, it's the ego that wants to be special and needs an audience. But this is what we want to embrace, is our uniqueness. And uniqueness doesn't come until ego dissolves. This ego of specialness starts to dissolve. And then the irony is you become more interesting to the world because you don't want it anymore. You don't need it anymore. You're unique. You're unique. You don't have to work at it. It's, right? It's already inside you. Okay. So before we get into the readings, I wanted to talk about the closing of the 14-year cycle. So Neptune has been in Pisces, and that's the last sign of the zodiac, right? The last zodiac of the wheel. And then it's the beginning, Aries. So we're closing one 14-year cycle with Neptune in Pisces, and then we're preparing for the next cycle, which is the next 14 years, and that's Aries. So this was dissolving the structures of your life, your old identities, your roles, your beliefs, your relationships, or orientations that you could no longer hold a shape or a structure. And now we're moving into the next 14 years, and that's shifting your focus from dissolving, right? Letting go, dissolving, to embodiment, from feeling and searching to choosing and acting and living what's real, right? So this is like the embodiment. This is walking your talk, Neptune and Aries. It's a huge cycle. So back to my retreat that starts on, we'll be addressing this, the Neptune and Pisces. So it's like to look back at your unique chart, because your chart shows you like what you've been focusing on, right? What has been dissolving for you for the last 14 years, even if you're still emotionally attached to it, and understanding where Pisces, Neptune and Pisces blurred your identity, your boundaries, or your direction in life, your spiritual path, and recognize what no longer needs fixing, explaining, or healing. So letting that go. And then during the retreat, preparing consciously for Neptune and Aries for the next 14-year cycle. And this is going to demand embodiment and action and integrity, so that you can focus on, oh, here's what Neptune wants me to do for the next 14 years. And what that dissolving with Neptune and Pisces was all about. What was that all about? So you can step into this next chapter of Neptune and Aries, so you're prepared for the next 14 years. And what now will be tested, right? Neptune and Pisces wasn't about testing, but Neptune and Aries is about testing through real world action, choice, and responsibility. Okay, so go check out my website to learn more of it. And again, tune into your body. Are you feeling called? And it's right after January 21st is the new year, Sun in 41st gate. The 23rd is the retreat. It ends on the 25th, the first part of it. The next day, January 26th, boom, Neptune's in Aries. So this is a threshold point, and I chose the dates purposely for that. Okay, so check into your body. Am I feeling a yes? Am I feeling pulled to this retreat? Not go to your mind and the money and all that stuff. Go to your body. Am I being pulled? That's what you want to be listening to, is your body. Okay, so let's go to the fractal read here. So I brought up my old ego cards. I felt called to do these. I haven't used these in a while. I really like them. They're my creation, these ego cards. So it's tarot and ego. Okay. So let me have a drink. This is a good time if you're watching this on replay to put the video on pause and have a refreshment or something, or a deep breath. I imagine people listen to my videos when they're on the move, maybe driving or walking or puttering around your place. Okay. So let's look at position one. Is what is my fractal? What is my fractal let go of? What's already completed for my fractal? The Knight of Swords. So what you're leaving behind is action, right? Reaction, not action, reaction. You're letting that go, being on reaction mode. So this is like quick decisions, urgency-driven action, responding, reacting instead of choosing, and constant motion to outrun discomfort. Busy, right? How can I stay busy to avoid what's really going on inside, right? So this the what's complete here is the identity of needing to move fast to stay ahead of the pain. This is a total resistance to slowing down. So this card says I had to act quickly back then, 2025 and before, but that strategy's no longer working for me, right? Maybe you're getting tired and exhausted. Maybe you've done with it. I don't want to move at that pace anymore, right? We live in a culture of productivity. Go, 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 go. We're given gold stars for being really busy and productive. And maybe you're saying, no, I'm done with that. I don't want to live my life like that, right? Like I'm constantly in this race and running away from something, towards something. That's destination consciousness. I'll be happy when something in the future. So it's no longer working, right? So under Neptune and Pisces, this could have been chasing clarity through motion, speaking before the body caught up, needing answers now to feel safe, making decisions now, right? So that you could feel safe, so you could avoid the mind and the anxiety. And this era is done, right? So speed is no longer intelligent. Speed's no longer intelligent. And what can't be carried forward in the next part of your journey is the Hierophant, right? So the Hierophant says here, he's traditional, the Hierophant. You are not going to bring inherited belief systems with you or spiritual authority structures. Well, that person knows best for me in my spiritual journey. They know what's best for me, right? They're spiritually gifted. You're putting your authority, right? Your authority, outsourcing it. This is how it's done. Identities, external validation of truth, right? So this is what you can't outsource your authority any longer. You can't bring that into this new year. So this is the spiritual rules that once gave safety, but now they feel hollow to you. Identities that are built on traditions rather than truth. teaching, following, or believed because it's sanctioned, right? Because there's experts. They're experts in their field, right? They're famous. They have accolades. They have credits. This card is saying no. It's got to come from your body, right? Your body has to choose. Not this. This is the mind. This is the old cross of planning way. So Saturn in the 60 is ruthless with this card, right? If it only works because it's approved, it won't survive what's coming. If it's in a book, right? If it's in a book, it's old already. Even if it was like written a year ago, it's old as soon as it's in a book. It's not going to survive what's coming because what's coming is new. We're entering a whole new territory now, and it's time to trust yourself, your higher self, right? Not to outsource that, right? Give everybody else authority over you because they've been sanctioned to, because they wrote a book or they've got a bunch of letters behind their name or they have accolades. Right? No, you want to tune into yourself first. Does it mean you don't listen to those people? No, you can listen to them, but you want to filter through your own knowingness. You make your own decision, right? So the Hierophant collapses when Neptune in Aries is not going to allow belief without embodiment. You have to embody what all the spiritual knowledge that you've been studying and taking in, you have to embody it now. Neptune in Aries demands that. So what wants embodiment now? The Nine of Swords and the Queen of Swords. So the truth must be faced, right? She's got her hands over her head. She doesn't want to look at the truth. So this card is mental anguish. This is I'm up at 3 a.m. worrying about crazy things. Do I have enough money? How am I going to survive? Worry, worry, worry. This is suppressed fear. It's the cost of avoidance and what happens when truth is delayed. So you've been avoiding truth, right? You've been the Knight of Swords all day, busy, rescuing people and putting everybody above yourself, staying busy and distracted. And then it's 3 a.m. and you're up in the middle of the night, right? And this is like, it's time to face the truth. What have you been running away from? The Nine of Swords here. So this is the pressure that you're not living your life. You're living a not self life, right? And then the Queen of Swords, this is the embodiment. And this is your clear, right? She's clear. Look, she's got the sword up. She's going to set boundaries, right? Clean boundaries. Live discernment. The Queen of Swords is very discerning. So together these two say, stop thinking your way out of this. Stop thinking your way out of this. Whatever you're in, stop thinking, right? Clear you want to name the truth and then live in according to it. What's your truth? Don't avoid it anymore. What's your truth? Say it out loud. Say it in your journal. Write it down. What's my truth? And then start aligning yourself with your truth, right? And action, clarity of the action will come. Queen of Swords, right? So this is relief. You'll feel this relief. The Nine of Swords energy relieved through honesty. You want to be honest. And then the anxiety eases when you embody your truth. When you start walking the talk, that's what integrity means. The external and internal are in alignment. What you say matches how you really feel inside, right? What you believe inside. And then the ego trap is distracted. And this is the 56. That's the 56th gate. So that's the programming partner of the 60, right? Is the 56. So this is the ego strategy that you've used. This totally goes with the Knight of Swords, right? So the ego strategy that you've been using is staying busy to avoid feeling and compensating for fear of failure with effort. If I just keep efforting and efforting, I can compensate for my fear of failure. Mistaking motion for progress. This is the busy just for the sake of being busy. And you're pretending that's progress because you're scared to death of being still, right? Because you have to face yourself. So chasing stimulation to escape boredom or grief with this. And this is the 56 running interference while gate 60 is trying to impose limits, right? So gate 60, the other side. Saturn and the whole party is in gate 60. This strategy of your ego is not going to work anymore to stay busy. Right? So the lie of the ego is if I just stay active enough, I won't have to feel what's ending. Something is ending for you, Fractal. Right? And if you don't choose limits consciously, reality is going to do it for you. Get rid of the distractions for you. So distraction is how fantasy survives. And fantasy is exactly what this new moon is deleting, is getting rid of all the fantasies in your life. So the chapter that you've been in about urgency and reaction is complete. It's done. The old spiritual structures you leaned on can't come with you. And what wants embodiment now is clear truth. Even if it's uncomfortable, you have to be honest with yourself. And the ego will try to distract you with busyness so that you don't have to choose, saying that you have to choose. So distraction is the last defense of fantasy. Clarity comes when you stop moving and start telling the truth. Right? So gate 60 demands limits, right? Form, sustainability, and gate 56 is panicking, offering you distraction, stimulation, busyness, right? And this is where you have to choose reaction versus choice, authority versus truth, busyness versus embodiment. So, right? So you have to say, I no longer need to stay busy to feel alive. I no longer have to need to stay busy to feel alive. I choose what I can actually live. Right? So that's for the fractal. So I feel like that's a really clear message. Okay. And then let's go for the twin flame here. So we got the divine feminine on the left side, divine masculine on the right. Same questions. Okay, divine feminine, high priestess. What's completing? What's completing for the divine feminines on my fractal? The high priestess. Well, she loves secrets. High priestess is very secretive. She doesn't talk, right? She doesn't speak what she knows. So what's complete is you waiting in silence, right? It's not intuition, it's not inner knowing, but it's the withholding your truth in order to stay safe. This, a lot of Pluto Scorpios do this, right? That means I have something to say, but I'm not going to say it. Your body communicates all the time. You just have to watch what they do. People's subconscious talk to me all the time. It's funny with readings. It's like they're saying one thing and then their body is saying something completely different. It's like the subconscious wants to come out and communicate to me. so that I can help them. Okay. So this is withholding truth. So what's completing for my divine feminines is she's done withholding truth. Her truth in order to stay safe, chosen, or unseen, to stay in hiding, basically. So the high priestess here says, I already know. I already know. I've known, and silence has served its purpose on this twin flame journey. Silence has served its purpose. This is the end of holding the truth privately while hoping that the other catches up, right? That the other catches up. Trusting your intuition, but not acting upon it. So you've been getting the intuitive hits, but you're not acting on it. Staying inward to avoid disruption, not expressing. Not expressing. So under Neptune and Pisces, silence was protective. Silence was protective. But Neptune and Aries, silence is abandoning yourself. Right? It's got a different flavor for this new cycle. So this chapter is done. You're done with this being silent. Now you're speaking your truth. Okay. And then position 2 is what wants to be embodied now. And that's the Five of Cups. Right? The Five of Cups here. So this is grief. It's grief, but it's not loss, right? Because there's 2 cups behind him, behind her, we'll say. Right? There's 3 empty cups in front of her and then 2 behind her. So the grief for what never became possible. So the embodiment here is you want to allow the disappointment to be real. Let the sadness be honest instead of spiritualized. Don't spiritualize your sadness. That's called spiritual bypass. You want to feel the sadness of what could have been, right? What could have been possible. So it's not wallowing, it's clean seeing. And the Five of Cups says, stop trying to redeem the past and let it be what it was. Just let it be what it was, an experience, right? So grief is not a weakness here. It's how your the divine feminine reclaims her energy, right? Is to feel the grief of what could have been in your relationship. So the ego trap for the divine feminines is the worthless card and the wear a mask card. So this is the 56, the gate 56 trap, right? So the ego pattern is like my value depends on being chosen. Who chooses me, right? I don't choose people. I allow them to choose me. My identity is borrowed, right? From the one that I'm with, right? My worth comes from being chosen, being special. So if the material, money, or relationship collapses, I collapse. Do you see? This is codependency. I must earn worth through devotion or endurance by playing a role. And this is the childhood wound of conditional love, right? Not getting the unconditional love from your family, getting conditioned. Love meant conditions. I love you if you're useful. I love you if you're beautiful. I love you if you're charming and witty. I love you if you make me look good. That's the wound, where that wound comes from. So your value doesn't come from relationships. It never did, right? This is codependence 101. Your value does not come from relationships. It never did. Your value comes from the divine, period. Your value comes from the divine. And then you got wear a mask here. This is the ego telling you. These are ego strategies. This is the specialness masquerading as protection. And it says, if I really take my mask off, divine feminine, if you really took your mask off, the ego says that you'll be rejected. If I show them who I really am, I'll be rejected. So I better be mystical, charming, calm, understanding, anything but real. I have to be fake. I have to wear this mask of the good girl. I have to hide my grief, my anger, my desire, my true desire. But Aquarius in gate 60 says only authenticity survives. Remember, those planets are headed to the Pluto. Masks won't protect you anymore, right? They'll isolate you. So this is you choosing uniqueness over specialness. Now, if you're just like coming right to the twin flame through the timestamp, go back and watch, because I did a whole segment on specialness and uniqueness. You have to choose your uniqueness. This is specialness by wearing a mask. That's the ego's version of uniqueness. This is lived truth. It's visible truth. It's embodying your truth, right? Even if it changes everything in your life. So divine masculine here, what's completing? Judgment, the judgment card there. And this is the end of avoidance for the divine masculine. You're not avoiding your soul purpose anymore. The judgment says the call has sounded, the trumpet there. There's no longer later. I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next year. I'll do it when this is over, when this is better. This is like it's no longer possible. It's no longer possible. Right? So the avoidance is ending. Procrastination is ending. This is the end of like putting off the choice and living in suspended animation, living in that hangman energy, right? Staying undivided to avoid consequence. And judgment doesn't ask that you're ready. Remember, ready is not it's not a feeling. Oh, I'm ready, right? That's not a feeling. It's a decision. You can be in a lot of fear, but still choose your sole purpose. So this is about timing. Something must be answered, right? And then what wants embodiment now is the star reversed. And this is saying that hope can't be outsourced. You can't put your hope on someone else. You can't put your hope on the divine feminine. You can't put your hope on outside of you. And faith can't be borrowed, right? Healing can't be postponed. This is the healing card. So you can't wait to feel worthy, inspired, or healed before acting. So the embodiment required here is to act without certainty, and choose without guarantees, and show up without being fixed, without being perfect. So Neptune in Aries, that's coming up, doesn't reward waiting for hope, doesn't reward this energy. It reveals truths through action, through taking action. And then the ego cards are anger and defensive. Ego cards are anger and defense, the ego strategy of the divine masculine. So this isn't surface anger, it's the grief. Underneath that anger is grief that never got permission. So the root wound here is you weren't loved unconditionally as a child, right? Your love felt earned. You had to earn it. It was conditional. It was performance based. So the ego strategy becomes, if I become enough, I'll be finally loved. If I fail, I'm unlovable. There's no room for mistakes. That's where this anger's coming from. And anger protects your grief, but it also blocks intimacy. So remember that the layer cake, in terms of our emotional work, there's anger at the top, right? And then there's fear, and then there's grief or sadness. And grief is when you've done the alchemy work, when you get to that place of grief. So defensive, with that, this is the mental armor. So the ego will say, like, no one can be trusted. Everyone's against me. If I stay sharp, I stay safe. I got to be on my game. I can't put my guard down, right? So this will show up with intellectualizing feelings instead of feeling them, intellectualizing them, flipping responsibility, making the other feel guilty or too much. So this gate 56 distraction through mental dominance. But Pluto and Aquarius, when these planets move to Pluto, one by one, the defense collapses under truth, right? Because Pluto is all about truth. So both of these, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, their ego-based survival strategy. The feminine is all about silence, worth through being chosen, specialness, right? And the masculine is avoidance, anger is protection, and you're using your intellect as a shield. And both are being asked the same gate 60 question, which is, what can you live without masks? What can you live without wearing a mask, playing a role, and distracting yourself or waiting? So the overall message for the twin flames is this connection cannot be carried forward through silence, anger, or wearing masks. Only what is lived honestly can survive what's coming. So specialness is over, and now uniqueness, your uniqueness requires embodiment. So that's the message there. Okay. And to finish it off, because it just popped into my head, what you can do. Remember I said that at the beginning of the video? So the other interesting thing with gate 60, because we're in gate 60 right now, because the new moon is coming soon. Like today, I'm recording this at 1:45 a.m. on January 18th. So stage 4, because we've been in stage 1, 2, 3, 4 as we're coming to the sun in the 41, right? And the 5 action items here. So this is stage 4 that we're in for the next couple of days now until the new moon. Now until the sun moves into the 41st gate. This is the real ending. It wasn't the January 1st is the new year. This is the real new year, right? The new energy. It's the new energy. So you want to stop forcing one thing. So stop forcing one thing and stop pushing this for the next 7 to 10 days. So examples of this was stop trying to resolve a relationship dynamic, stop trying to decide what to do next professionally, stop optimizing a routine that the body resists. Like, you've got some crazy exercise routine and your body is like, no, I don't want to do this, and your mind is dominating, right? So the action is name one effort you're willing to stop, right? So write it down. One effort that you're willing to stop, even temporarily, right? It's not quitting, it's completing. It's completing. Number 2, let the body be right. Gate 60's ending show up physically first. They show up in the physical first, right? Because the 60 is coming off the root, right? So notice your hips, your lower back, and that's direction and support. Your hips and lower back represent that. Lower back support. Lower back is like finance. It's like don't feel supported. Your head and temples, that's mental pressure, fatigue without explanation. So you want to add rest. You want to rest or nap without justifying it. You want to go to bed earlier without using the time to process, right? You want to reduce your output. So if the body says no, that's the answer, even if the mind doesn't understand or hasn't caught up yet. If your body says no, that's the answer. There's no second action item. Third action item, remove, don't replace, right? Delete one obligation, cancel one non essential commitment, clear one lingering responsibility. No replacement. Don't replace it with something else. No upgrade. Right? Gate 60 doesn't want substitution, right? It wants emptiness. Number 4, don't decide yet. Don't decide anything yet. Postpone decisions about the future until after January 21st. And if clarity tries to force itself now, it's going to be distorted by exhaustion. That's a sign that it's not time to make decisions about the future yet, not until after January 21st. So gate 41 needs space to initiate. It responds to emptiness, not effort. Right? So write out, right? What am I done carrying? What wands? My 10 of wands, right? What am I done carrying? What identity, role, or timeline has expired? And what happens if I stop trying to force the next chapter? Right? Acceptance is the release here. So this is about the no additions, no intentions, no affirmations here. So this is about the true close of the cycle, the yearly cycle here that you're in now. Okay, so the new moon's not asking you, what are you ready to start? What are you excited about? What's your vision? It's asking you, what are you finally willing to stop carrying? That's the big one, right? What are you willing to stop carrying now? Okay. So that's what I have for you for the new moon. And keep in mind, the retreat is starting on January 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And we'll be doing Kundalini yoga meditations. We'll have reflection, questions, lots of teachings. You look at your own personal chart, what you've been through the last 14 years, and what's coming up for the next 14 years for you, according to your unique chart. And then action items for you in your own personal sheets that I create for each person. Okay, with action items and what to focus on. Okay, so you can follow me on Instagram, Telegram, what else? YouTube. There's a lot more action on the YouTube community tab. And please subscribe and like. If you value this content, I would appreciate if you like to put a thumbs up. And I will see you probably not Friday or Saturday. I got to figure that out when I'm going to drop my next video because the retreat starts on Friday. But I'll have something, right? I'll have some video out. Okay, everybody, take good care and really take in this energy and listen to any insights that come to you and trust what your soul is communicating to you. Really trust your body, what your body is telling you during this time. And and be authentic. Let that be your word, my authenticity. And the authenticity doesn't come from the mind and ego. It comes from deep within you, like to awaken that. That's your superpower, is your authenticity. Okay, and I will see you in the next video. Sat Nam Aloha.